Welcome to the Energy Medicine and Healing Summit, where you'll discover how to take your health into your own hands from today's top energy medicine experts and healers. Share this powerful event with your friends and family, and join in our conversation on Facebook at The Shift Network. And now your host, Don D. Dolan.
Hello, friends. Welcome, welcome. So happy you're with us today. Today we have Mona Delfino as our guest. Mona was a born healer and shaman, is a healer and shaman, and she's here to talk to us today about the language of the body. What causes illness, and how can you talk to your body and listen to your body and the language it speaks? Hello, Mona.
Hello, Dondi. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We're excited to have you. And right off the top, I've already mentioned the word shaman. I love shamanism, but I do find that some people misunderstand it, and the visions in their head of what shamanism is are often a little bit different about the reality of it. And it's such a beautiful modality and art and healing method. Can you talk a little bit about being born a shaman?
Yeah, I can. Thank you. Being born shaman means that basically for me, I can tell you about my own experience. I was 6 months old when I woke up in consciousness. And what that means is that I was able to recognize everything in the room, and it was like a momentary aha moment. Everything came together when I was a baby. And I remember being in a crib. I remember my grandmother coming in. I remember her changing my diaper. I remember what color pin she had in her mouth when she was pinning the diaper. I remember the look on her face. I wanted her to look at me in my eyes, and she wouldn't do it. But I found out later what was really going on, and that was that my brother Danny had just died in the hospital in Los Angeles. He was 3 years old, and Danny was an albino, and we had 6 kids in the family. So in my case, what happened was when Danny passed, somehow there was this incredible exchange. I became aware and awake at that time. And that's the place where I call consciousness. I became more conscious in my body. I became more conscious and aware of my fingers. And I knew I was going to use them at that time. I knew why I came back at 6 months old. So for me, it was a little bit different. I don't know how many people actually go through that. I did hear that it's not uncommon as much as it used to be, but it's not uncommon for people to be born with knowledge, especially our children today. But I would say that is my experience of being born into shamanism. Now, how I became a shaman was recognizing that consciousness. Really and truly, it was an awareness, an observation of living. And so the way I became more aware was paying attention. And I just paid attention to the things that were going on around me. I was deep. I was a deep child. And I remember a lot of things happening at the same time with my family. And I remember being in tune with it without having to say a word. And that's the essence of shamanism, is being aware, attentive, recognizing in the moment what you're feeling and what you're allowing. And that's a beginning of how people can actually step into that consciousness in a way that makes them feel like they're not alone and that they don't have to buy into everything going on the outside. Because shamanism is directly related to your connection, and your connection to yourself, your connection to your higher self, and your connection to your God. It's very, very important that you understand that it's connection that brings it together. And that's really shamanism. So in my world, I like to call it quantum shaman, because we're learning so much about quantum energy and how energy actually changes like that. It doesn't take much. And in my work, that's what I do. I work with many, many people, and I have for over 40 years, directly related to energy work. And that's what moves a muscle. That's what moves the memory inside of you and inside your entire body, is your connection to the understanding of the meaning behind it and what it is offering you. In other words, every organ in our body has a meaning. every muscle, every bone, every tooth, every finger. It's like what Louise Hay used to talk about. It was true. She was, I think, our very first medical intuitive that really let it be known that the body is sacred and it has a language. I just completely blew that into a major, major thing for people to help them understand what I know to be true from the people I've worked on and how they've healed.
Thank you. Thank you. So you mentioned medical intuitive and Louise Hay, who we all love. We love you, Louise. Talk a little bit about being a medical intuitive and also about illness. You explore illness a lot and the reasons it begins and why people don't heal. Go into that for us.
Healing is actually something that anybody can do. It sounds crazy because we're not used to it. We're still in a world that believes in having to go somewhere else to find out what's going on. However, what's really true about it is that the body has a language. My whole purpose for being here is to help people learn that language so that we understand our own power, that we can understand how to do things ourselves. How do we relate to our emotional, our mental, and our spiritual bodies? Because really, if you think about it, it's those bodies that incorporate what's going on in this body. This body is a reflection of your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual concepts. And so I always say, it's the perceptions in your life that can help change an attitude. It can change a physical form if you change your perception. So healing is not terribly difficult, but it does take awareness. It does take not effort, but it takes your ambition and your desire. Your desire will change everything in the body as long as you understand that there's a reason for the ailment. So the ailment can come from, like I said, an emotional cause. A lot of people today are going through a lot of things, Dondi, that are related to pain in their own soul, things that have happened. We have had so many incarnations. And right now, in this beautiful world that we're in, I don't care what's going on out there, what's really happening down deep is that we are being thrown into a position of having to think for ourselves, to feel for ourselves, to recreate for ourselves, and to become ourselves. And that's what's happening. So it's exciting, but at the same time, it's going to take a lot for us to be able to really understand how to love that person, even though you're going through challenges and you might be doubting yourself. But truthfully, what's happening is you're being encouraged. That's how spirit works. It works in the world of challenge in order for us to be able to establish something much greater, because we're actually becoming more of who we really are. And one day when we're on the other side, we're going to know it. And we're going to realize that a lot of these things that are happening today aren't really going to matter as much when we're on the other side, because really it's all about love. And it comes right back down to love. It sounds corny, but it is so true. The heart generates the entire feeling around your electromagnetic field, which is 2.5 to 3 feet outside of your body. So your heart is what's going to dictate what your future will be. Your feelings and your desires are actually going to be a part of that healing, but they're also going to be a part of the stuckness. So if you feel stuck, a lot of it is the way that you were perceiving a situation that happened a long time ago, but it never got out of the body because at that time it was a challenge that you didn't want to have to face. And that is anything from being told that you were ugly to having a car accident that almost killed you. It can be any range of trauma, but it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be something that you tried to ignore, but it never left you. These are the things that make us later on have to deal with something within ourselves. Every diagnosis that is out there has a reason. Every autoimmune dysfunction has a purpose. And I've been able to tap into those reasons for the people that I've worked on, and people have healed because they get taught what caused it in the first place. And it's a big deal because we don't like to hear the reasons a lot of times. It can make us feel bad if we realize that, Alzheimer's or Parkinson's really has a reason behind it, which is what causes the physical body to react the way it does. So in energy, there's always an action and a reaction. Okay, so that's what we're learning here. We're learning how to react to a form of an action that has either happened in the past or that's happening today. You're constantly creating. And if you recognize that your reaction can be a part of what you have been learning all along, and then you don't hurt yourself by saying, I should have known that, I should have done that, why didn't I, etc. Why am I not loved as much? You can put yourself down till the cows come home, but that's not going to do you any good, because that's not going to help your body to recognize the more important parts of what it's asking for. Your body is looking for a host. Every single day, you change your system. Every day, you've got new blood cells coming in. You've got your red cells, you've got your white cells, you've got everything happening. The system is constantly working. When we're sleeping, it works even more because we're finally out of the way. We're finally resting. And so the body can do its function. But this is what's so important, is that life is interconnected with everything. It's interconnected with your dreams, your thoughts, your actions, your reactions, the way that you think, the way that you release things. Giving and receiving is a real big part of energy. How much does somebody really receive if they've been taught only to give? You see, I'm trying to help teach people that we're not about the past. We don't have to be servants of something we're not aware of. But what we do need to do is to recognize being in the moment and know that what we're doing and how we're acting in our own life is going to reflect in your physical body. That's really what happens. And so that's why it gets more detailed, of course, when you talk about your immune system, your endocrine system, your nervous system, the lymph glands. Most important right now is the adrenal glands. That is what's getting people very, very uptight. Your adrenal glands are responding to what we call a fight or flight syndrome. And that fight or flight is going to be either the way you've always known and the way that you've reacted in the past, or the fear behind what you don't know. And most people are doing that today, with the ones that I'm seeing anyway, is having to do with the fear of not knowing. And this is what is hurting the mind, because the fear that's related to the not knowing makes it harder for people to actually trust life. And life is about trusting. It's about going into the womb or the belly of the puma and really listening. That's what shaman recognize what the earth has. They recognize how to talk about the animals and how the plants feed us. Everything that's related to the natural beauty of this planet is actually shamanism. So it's tuning into those things. That's why people get excited when you talk about totems. They go, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, because it does. Animals actually have a spirit, and that spirit is related to us. So in Hawaii, for example, we have what we call an amakua. Okay, amakua is what is your totem. And in Hawaii, it'll either be a shark, a whale, a turtle, an owl. They're much more simpler. But it's beautiful because everybody has something that they can relate to. And so when you find your jazz inside, you find something that really makes you passionate, you can find out what kind of animal that you are relating to. And in shamanism, that's what we do. For example, I'm eagle. And my mentor, who I had for 12 years, I was so fortunate to have Karen Land. She was a Cherokee. She taught me for 12 years more about who I was. And yes, it wasn't easy. I was in the hot seat more times than I can tell you. But that taught me how to behave, how to recognize, how to listen, and how to change my old ideas from old religional aspects to where I am today. And that has opened me up to the world. So we used to talk all about these things that made sense back in the 80s. And so I feel very fortunate that I can teach a lot of that today, as well as look into somebody to their soul, because I can see right through to the soul.
Mona, I would like to go back to something you said, and that's about the reasons for illness. But I also would like you to talk a little bit about autoimmune. You mentioned autoimmune illnesses. And in a very practical way, if somebody is watching us today and dealing with, let's say, multiple sclerosis, And they're thinking, well, what are my reasons for multiple sclerosis? Why would I have gotten this? Could you just talk practically about the reasons and what you call themes in autoimmune illnesses?
I'd be happy to, honey. Thank you for asking me. This is the hard part because a lot of people have a hard time hearing this, but it's really important. And those that are anxious to know, I am more open than not to tell you what I know to be true about these things and how I've seen people heal through them. Now, one of the things with autoimmune is that it means your immune system is tired. It means the immune system has gotten tired. And over a period of time, it's not just physical. Nothing is ever just physical. When it comes to your body, everything is related to, like I said, either mentally, emotional, your thoughts, your patterns, all that. So what happens with autoimmune is that the immune system is related very highly to the nervous system. They're both interconnected, believe it or not. The nervous system is the closest system to spirit. Whenever anybody has a deep anxiety, that means there's a part of them that's not trusting something. What's that going to do? That's going to take away your energy. That's going to make your adrenal glands go a little bit wild, and they're going to get too full. And pretty soon it's going to be a problem because those adrenal glands are feeding you, but they're not there to use as an everyday problem. We've gotten accustomed to think that something is bothering us, and because we don't deal with it, we have this little motor running in the background, and that little motor is taking up our energy, and that's what causes illness. So that is what is going on underneath the scenes, really, is for an autoimmune dysfunction. It's also about related to what is going on in the brain. When somebody feels as though they are not loved, or they feel that they haven't had enough love given to them, then their reaction is going to be on a bigger scale that they're not worthy or that they don't have enough power in them to matter. A lot of times what I see is that people get ill because they don't know how to like themselves and they don't know how to love who they are. So it's a matter of understanding that down deep inside, that is the ticket. You learn to love yourself. Now, that's not easy. You know, we used to say that that's the hardest thing in the world to do, but it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Learning to love yourself is the most important thing on our planet today that you can do because it means that you don't have to judge. You can come from compassion. All of those things, all that beautiful gratitude, all the things that the heart is thankful for is what's important. That overrides everything else. Now, in the process, though, if we aren't there, then what happens is we can get stuck in what I call an autoimmune dysfunction. What that means is that we've been taken over by something that we don't recognize. Most of the time, autoimmune dysfunctions come from a discouragement. It comes from something that you feel that you could never live up to. Bottom line, Parkinson's in general is a very big one today, and it's getting more and more prevalent. Cancer, Alzheimer's, fibromyalgia, those are just to name a few, but these are major things that happen in the body. And as you're seeing right now, they're becoming more and more prevalent. So when we understand what Alzheimer's is, for example, Alzheimer's is something that is related to the past. When a person doesn't want to give up their past and they are not really liking what they're seeing or going into the future, a lot of times what happens is we lose memory. And that because there's no memory to feed off of, we don't have, our children aren't little anymore. Maybe we're not being heard. It can be stuff like that, but we are actually cognizant now of the reasons why these things happen. And so, truthfully speaking, Alzheimer's is not letting go of the past. That's what creates the condition of the TIAs in the brain and everything else, because it puts a stop and a blockage into the system. And the same thing happens when you have Parkinson's. Parkinson's is usually, and I've had hundreds of people agree with me on this one, so I will say it out loud, but Parkinson's is usually a thought form. The thought form is related to not feeling that you've gotten enough in life and you put everything out there on the line. Maybe you had a business that you had for 45 years and you didn't get much of a retirement. A lot of times it's a form of resentment from feeling that you never got enough in life, that you put out so much and you didn't get enough back. This can relate to backing up in the nervous system. In other words, not feeling like the flow is happening in your life. And this is what happens. The body actually listens to that. And so it thinks it needs to do that. Like I said, the body is looking for a host, and the host is going to be your thoughts. The host is going to be how you live and what your heart is going after, whether it loves something or whether it's doing something because it really doesn't like it. People go to work every day and they don't necessarily like their jobs. What's that going to do? Sooner or later, that's going to cause that person to really not want to go. And maybe they're going to have more sick days than other people because they don't like their job. And that's pretty obvious right there. But a lot of times, these are the things that start relating to what the autoimmune dysfunctions come in as. Cancer is a lot about anger. It really has to do with self-directed anger. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong in life that I didn't do enough of this, or I should have done that? The shoulda, woulda, couldas are a lot of what happens in cancer. The cells need someplace to go. And any scientist who works with cells, such as Bruce Lipton, I love Bruce, will tell us why these things happen in a petri dish. But the most important thing to remember is that you're in charge. You're the driver of the car. You're the one that's getting ready to move that vehicle into something new. So what road haven't you taken? That's really what this is about, is learn how to heal, because sure, we can talk all day about how the organs are related to something. Liver is always related to your past and what you're doing about it. It really is. It comes into the past and what you're doing about it. Are you letting go? Are you moving forward? Are you feeling safe? That's a big one. Safety is an illusion. We think safety is real. It's really not, because we are always creating what we are directing. So not only are we the receivers of the law of attraction, but we are also the directors of what our life is about. This is getting big in the world, and we're starting to learn more of it.
So, Mona, you mentioned Bruce Lipton, who we all love. He talks a lot about cellular memory. You dive into cellular memory. Is that what is kind of encompassing this when you talk about distrust and anxiety, and on the bigger scale, the autoimmune diseases and illnesses? And even more about cellular memory, what can we do to turn it around so we have great cellular memory and it's helping us and feeding us to live beautiful, joyful, healthy lives?
Good question. And I would say to that answer, the most important thing is to realize that you don't have to blame yourself for anything. Nothing. You don't have to go back into blame. That is not the way that we move forward. What we do is we pay attention. Again, it's an Eckhart Tolle. We have to be in the moment. That is what presents the healing. Where are we in that? What haven't we looked at inside of us? What emotion are we carrying that needs attention? So really what we are is we are beautiful beings that maybe haven't learned how to nurture ourselves. So a lot of it has to do more with nurturing instead of blaming. Blaming is not an answer, and it never has been. Neither is judging. These are all old dimensional thought forms. But that doesn't work for us anymore, because that doesn't present a healing. No matter how you feel about somebody, it's not going to work if you carry a grudge. It doesn't work that way. What happens is it backfires in the body. So you have to remember, the most important thing for you to do is to realize, number one, don't put yourself down. The body will hear you, and the body will put itself down because of it. That's a big one. Okay. And the second thing is, what we have to remember is that we're always going through something new, and we're very similar to everybody else on the planet. So we don't want to blame ourselves for what we've done in the past. Remember, that's the past, but don't ignore it either. Remember that you're in it right now to change it. You're full speed ahead. You're in throttle mode, man. You're going. Okay. That's what the body's doing. And so to be able to move forward means you don't look back to blame or to attach. The attachment of the past is what's getting people in trouble in their immune system. It's attachment. It means that we attach too much to the outcome. And if we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, then we get disturbed down the road, instead of learning the lesson of what you could have learned or what you can learn from that particular lesson.
Do you possibly have a quick technique that you could share with us today that will help us to start to move forward and maybe become less attached to outcomes?
Absolutely. It's called taking charge. And, it's really easy. There's a lot of different things we can do here today. But because of our timing, I'd like to go ahead and do the energy ball with you, because the energy ball, everybody loves this one. And so this one is because you can feel it. And, when you feel or resonate, that's what energy medicine is. It's resonating. It's energy that is encompassing in a connection. Where two or more are gathered, it's always a connection base. And in that connection, we can develop something new. We become whole through connection. So this is called the energy ball. And what this does is this helps you to alleviate any feelings that you've had that maybe feel a little bit sad or negative, or maybe you're too engulfed in what's going on in the government. It can be anything that's going on in the world or even in your own family. So here's my suggestion to take your power back. You take your hands and you put your hands about this far. Can you see that okay? About this far in ahead of you. And then you're going to feel a little bit of heat coming through, and you're going to feel heat coming from both hands. And then you're going to pull back just a little bit, like about that far. So you're maybe about 5-6 inches away from your hands. And then now you're going to feel that deep connection of the heat is still going to be coming through. So the way you know this is you try to push your fingers and your hands back together just a little bit, and you're going to feel a resistance. This resistance is going to say, that's energy. It wants to live. It wants to move forward. It doesn't want to resist. Okay, so now we're going to go a little bit further out, and you're going to find you still have that connection. Okay, so the hands are connecting energy. This is your energy. Now, what you do with this is up to you. And any day you want, morning, noon, or night, or even wake up in the middle of the night, this is a good one to do. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and take this connection that you have going on here, and you can feel it, and you start to rotate it until you create a ball. Okay, and this ball is going to get a little bit stronger because you are now in charge of creating it. So you just create a ball however you want to create it. Come back, hold on to it. This is where you want your intention to match your desire. So if you decided that you don't have enough love in your heart and you want more love, or you want to feel more love or passion, you're going to go ahead and blow that word of your desire into this ball, because the ball is going to take that energy. So let's say passion. Let's just use passion. So I'm going to think and feel as much as I can what it feels like to have passion. Then I'm going to blow, because the breath is life, and the breath is everything that changes cellular memory. It's in the air. It's in the breath that does it. And we go like this. Now you're blowing in passion. Some of you are going to want to say the word out loud. Love, passion. But always remember to blow that energy into the ball. All right? And then you take that. As soon as you know it's there and you're feeling strong, and some people's hands are going to start tingling, you're going to take that ball and you're going to throw it directly into your heart right here. Put it direct. Oh, that feels so good. It's what we call biofeedback through energy. So that's what this is. So you put the ball right in your heart and you let it sit. It's always in the after effect, after the action happens, that you want to pay attention. So after you put the ball into the heart, take a good 3-4 minutes and just breathe it in. Don't move your hands. Keep them right there. And that's how you do an energy ball treatment. It works.
Well, I can see why people love the energy ball, and now our viewers have this to take with them. Thank you for that wonderful technique. We are coming to the end of our show together. I would love for you to tell our viewers a little bit about your book, The Splendor of Surrender. Maybe give us your webpage so people know how to reach you. And then after all of the information you've given us, I would love for you to wrap it up with just one last idea or inspiration or thought to leave our viewers with today?
Okay. All right. So the first thing is my website. I have a lot of events coming up. 2019 we're going to have a wonderful year of teaching. So there's lots of information on my website that you can learn how to do some energy healing yourself. I can teach you how to do that. I take individuals and I teach them directly. And we'll have maybe 3 or 4 sessions, and that will get you started into Energy Medicine 1. But it's on www.sacredreconnections.com. And reconnections with an S on the end of connection, sacredreconnections.com. Okay, that's the website. You go to that website, it's going to give you lots of information about what's coming up. In August, we're going to have another retreat at Mount Shasta, which is a real big hit. People love that. We do 2 or 3 retreats a year at Shasta itself, and man, there's nothing like it. I can tell you that. So we start with that, and then I would like to leave you with something very important. I want you to remember something. No matter what is going on in this world, no matter what is happening, this is not for us to judge. As much as we want to, as much as we want to get mad, angry, pissed off, yell at somebody, no matter how you want to do that, you have to be the observer. In shamanism, we like to be the observer. We pay attention to that because you can have feelings and opinions, but remember, we're coming from facts when it comes to energy. Energy is science, and science is facts. So if you're observing something and you're just judging it, I recommend to not do that. Then what you do is you recognize that everything has a purpose, everything has a reason, and we don't know everything. So we're ready to find out, and we're ready to learn more about that by recognizing what we are capable of doing within us. Your energy, what you do, what you say, I don't care if you're bedridden or if you're a marathon runner. No matter who you are, it's always going to affect the rest of the world. So remember how important you are, because they say even the butterfly wings that are felt on one side of the world will be felt on the other. So it's very simple. Energy constantly keeps moving. So you're not alone, and there's many, many people like you out there. So love yourself to the best that you can, and remember what you do for you is what you're doing for the world.
Mona, thank you for your wisdom today. Thank you for this time you have given us. And thank you to all of our viewers, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you, Dondi. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us for the Energy Medicine and Healing Summit, brought to you by the Shift Network. You can add every teaching and transcript to your personal library by visiting energymedicinesummit.com/upgrade. To learn more about awakening to your full potential and together co-creating a world that works for all, visit theshiftnetwork.com. Thank you again for joining us and for sharing this life-changing information with your friends and family.